This is a rematch. So the semifinals of the 12th tournament. This is our largest bracket so far. I've played against Sherlock in the finals, I think 4 times. I've only won once. Um, Here we go again. This is Fate League organized tournament. Um, it's closed deck list, but we kind of assume what we're playing. There's a couple like top tier decks, and just from the opener, we're on the same thing. I think we might be on identical lists here. Um, so the like directions of choice that you can take with this deck, I see him play 4 cards, which is a little surprising. He got ahead by 1 point. So if you do have 6 points, I guess you do it there. But this matchup becomes a trade-off of having more breath, having a good order to your discard pile, and having Nourish because you played Oak and you won a round. And then there's a consideration of if you're winning rounds. So it might be fine to lose the first 4 rounds if you just start having like a really strong snowball, because the opponent can only do as much as you, and they don't really have disruption. So here my opponent presumably can play something. Like all of the 4 cards in their hand are playable with the breath that they had. But they're opting to instead bank the breath. So the card Cloak of Stars will give you extra breath at the start of a round based on how much you didn't spend that you had unspent from the previous round. And if you have Moon, you can trigger 2 of them. And Moon can also trigger another Moon, such that you're getting more and more breath. So there's both like the amount of Inspire, which is extra breath that you have, and there's also, do you have a good discard pile setup that is multiplying that by the highest number possible? And that's like A times B, and you want to get that as high as possible while also getting wins over the opponent. Um, Here, I'm trying to set up my discard pile such that. So, another thing you can try to do is play Paramountcy pretty early. And when you play Paramountcy, it's going to get back 4 cards, and one of them's probably Oak. So you played the Oak on the round, and then you got it back. So it's triggering twice. And the thing that it's doing is getting you Nourish based on how many points you won by. So if you can get that number large, and then be, again, the next round doing double Oak, you're in a pretty good position. My opponent, I think, gets to do just that, but we'll see if he is ahead of me in points. So he actually is. So 3 points up, and Oak is going to happen twice. So that's the 6 extra Nourish that you see on his side. However, I ended up with more breath. So I would probably consider this advantageous for me. But I do have to get ahead. Like at some point you can just play all the cards in your hand, and some of them you don't really want to play because you want to be playing Paramountcy on the ideal cards, which is probably 2 Clings. Cling will get back the most expensive card from your discard pile, which is often Paramountcy and Oak, and maybe like 2 more Oaks. So that's 4 cards. Um, and then, you have so much Inspire that you can do whatever you want, and you're just maxing out that number and then trying to get the carryover from Oak's ability. But I would say that this is a good position for me because my opponent has 14 breath here. So maybe they're playing something and then Oak. or sorry, something and then Paramountcy. But they probably are not beating me playing like a pretty prime Paramountcy with Oak Cling Moon, as well as playing Oak and Cling the first time. So instead, what he's going to do is try to just get lots and lots of breath next round. And I think I know the cards in his hand. One of them is Paramountcy and the other is probably Oak. I actually forget. Normally, I write these things down. I think this tournament I was a little more fast and loose. And it's a little bit harder with closed deck lists, although you can. The format is still that, if you beat your opponent on a deck, they would have to still win with that deck at some point. So you can keep track of what cards they haven't played yet. Here I have 30 Nourish. So some places, this becomes like my game to lose. So if I just operate normally, I'll probably win. I, as soon as I've played one card, I'm going to get the 30 points because Nourish is going to go onto that card as soon as it resolves. There's not really a reason for me to pass. Like most of the time when playing Celestial kind of competitively, you want to pass as much as possible and play things late as much as you can. But here it's like you just kind of do your thing. I still want a morning card to be on the top of my discard pile, which I think I've checked and it will be here. And so I don't get the oak. I didn't have oak at all that round, which is why there's no nourish. But I have lots of breath and I have good cards in my hand. 33, so I can play all of my cards. And in getting to win four, um, often I don't care if I still have the morning, because if I'm getting some crazy amount of nourish, then on the final round, like going for my fifth win, all I really care about is playing like one big card, which has like 60 points of nourish. Like that's enough to win. And I'm probably in this position, and I feel like unless I mess something up, I'm I'm just set to win. So this matchup can feel like it is kind of solitaire, but you're trying to optimize to be just a little bit ahead of the opponent. Like the first win that Sherlock got was him getting one more point than me. And that win is as valuable as later wins in most ways, except that Oak is going to provide carryover if you win by more. But yeah, I mean, this is me rewatching it, and I've played this mirror before. It's so complicated and interesting because I think that Sherlock is better than me at this match. Like I've played him in preparation for tournaments. I've played him in tournaments. Um, I think I definitely try hard more in tournaments, but it's a really funny dance. It's usually like who goes for breath earlier is the person that ends up winning. And if you actually go for rounds, winning rounds earlier, you normally are the person losing. Um, I feel like definitely if you try to nourish earlier, it just doesn't really matter. And if your inspire starts going down compared to the previous round, either because you didn't find your morning or you didn't set it up right, then you're probably in a really bad spot. You can uniquely to this deck, like you can basically always get your morning, and you can just not play cards and like do nothing in a round and then bank a ton of breath and then be fine to keep going from that position. I feel like it honestly doesn't matter where your Paramouncy is in your deck. Like if it's in the bottom, there's still plenty of things you can do. And then because you're clinging to put cards back on top, you It takes you longer than normal to get to the Paramatsi because it's like normally you draw your first three to start the game. You every round draw two more. So like on round seven, you've drawn all of your cards in your starting deck, assuming you didn't like what's called stuff any cards, which is like if your hand is full, if your hand is over full. But with Cling, each time you cling, it takes like half a round away from that number. But you're really only like repeating this once you find Paramatsi. So Paramatsi, once you get it, it it effectively like stops you from churning further into your deck. My opponent's also probably gonna shuffle. I didn't really look here. Uh, so they're gonna shuffle unless they double cling, which I don't think they have the discard pile set up to do that. And maybe they did. Ow, nice. All right, so that was. I actually feel like this matchup is harder. So this deck that I'm playing now is hyper thin. You want to draw through your starting deck fairly quickly. You're playing cards that have fleeting that will be removed from the game. And then the final uh, deck that you have is like six cards. So it's not very many. You're drawing through all of them every single round, and you have like a number of powerful effects that negate normal things that the opponent would do. I'm probably not thinking about priority that much. I am trying to get round wins because I feel like in the late game, this deck loses to uh, the like Cloak Paramancy deck. Not everyone feels this way. And this is a deck that Samson plays. So like Samson is a bunch better than me at Hyperthin, and he builds a couple different variations depending on the meta. Sherlock, I'd say, is better at this deck that he made, which is the like Book of Stars, Oak, Paramatsi deck. And there's a couple other players that are like particularly good at different decks. There's a Shadows deck player, and I honestly probably wouldn't say I'm better than anyone at like the top tier decks, just because I play a bunch of jank. But I do know how to play them adequately to get this far in a tournament. Um, so Vampire is the leftmost card in my hand. You can see that its cost is going down. This is rough. So it goes down, it's uh, -1 for each card in the story. I'm not going to be able to play it though. So I could play Rebirth and it would be a 3-cost vampire. This does mean that my opponent is about to stop having the Morning Inspire and instead just have Nourish. So if next round I either play Heron to reset the points, this gets rid of the Nourish, or I play like Rebirth Vampire Vampire or like Rebirth Vampire Glacier or something. I threw out the Rebirth there because I didn't. I just wanted to draw through my deck a little bit faster, and I didn't want to have an over full hand. I would love if my opponent plays a card and I get to play Heron. Their card might be worth 0 points normally, which would mean they would have 5 points. And then I probably couldn't take the round because I don't have points after that. Essentially, what I'm doing here is just negating my opponent's Nourish. That's like this round is devoted to doing that, and it's like churning. Like Heron isn't one of the cards that has fleeting, but you want to play it as soon in the match as possible because it will get its its cost increased by 1 for each card in your discard pile. So my opponent is back on the Inspire train, which is the thing that I'm most afraid of. They are at 13. They don't really have a setup to get tons of points yet, but they do have Oak in their discard pile. Me playing Dove here just forces my opponent to do something. They could even just play another Clerk of Stars and like pretend like they could play a 0 point card, but it's a little risky if they play a 0 point card and then pass. They know that I don't have Heron, and he does know that I have like vampires. So at some point he's like, okay, my opponent's gonna play 12 points or something. Um, and the Cloak deck, it has like Oak or Cling. So with a single card, it can get lots of points, which makes it a little bit harder for me to play Vampire for cheap. But here, in the worst case, one of these is going to be three and the other two. So I get to play both of them. So I'm probably looking at me winning this round, getting into the shuffle. Ideally, I'm keeping priority, meaning that I have the first play on the next round. And my opponent has lots of Inspire. And then he's close to the bottom of his deck. So I expect that he has like a Paramancy set up very soon. And so I'm going to try to win the rest of my rounds. Like I expect to win this round, and then I need to win two more. And the way I'm going to do that is by playing Hero and Heron in some combination. My opponent did go for lots of points, but he can't beat the. So I think I probably counted that out, if I recall this correctly. And I have 12 points, but my opponent has like 16 or something. I think he ended up actually having 13, 8 plus 5, but he could have had 8 plus 8 with Cling. And I just wanted to beat that. So I was willing to get rid of one of my glaciers to get 4 points for the child, even though ideally I would just keep it. I still haven't played Possibility, which is funny. You want to play this as soon as possible, because then for the rest of the match, you're getting extra breath. Here, I know that I'm not winning, and ideally, I'm keeping priority. So uh, the player that starts around with priority is the last player who has played a card, but I don't really have a way to fight for that. My opponent is giving up his morning here. I didn't draw Hero, unfortunate. I would like to have led with Hero here. It might even force my opponent into the shuffle. In the absence of that, I can pass. If he passes, I still have priority on the next round, and maybe I can again force him into the shuffle or something. And he doesn't have the morning, so it's like maybe he could play Rooster, which costs 1, and then Paramountcy, which costs 9, but otherwise, it's not doing much. So this is actually really good for me. Like I can compete on points here. Um, it's a little crazy for me to do this. I'm actually not sure why I did this instead of just playing Enlightenment. Maybe I'm thinking like, okay, I have one more round to win. I because I have Hero next round, so I have like Hero, Heron, and then whichever of the cards I don't play here. I don't know why I went for the tie here. I know that my opponent is going into the shuffle. Like if I had played Enlightenment there, my opponent's not beating me. I'm down one card. Like there's one card left in my deck that's not in my hand as the round starts. Um, Uh, uh, it's a weird. Like, I think I'm probably in a spot to win either way, but this gives him an extra round to set things up. And the setup he wants to do is like play oak into something. I know that he has paramountcy. And then the way this goes badly for me is he can play like 16 points, and then I play Heron, and then he plays another 16 points, and I totally can't keep up with that. There's the benefit that he doesn't have card draw, so but he has card consistency. Like Kling is getting him good cards, so all the cards in his hand are good. He just doesn't have that many of them. So Hero is going to nullify one of them. This was also a weird setup by him. I guess he's at 22. Like he could have led with Oak. I guess he was worried that I played Hero. I am bluffing Hero here. So the first card in the story he can't see, and it's normal that like a player with Hero would play Hero as the first card because it's gonna discard one card and then it's gonna earn a little bit of points, and this is enough to win a round. My opponent thought that I did that, so I bluffed that. And then I played Hero and he played Oak, thinking it wouldn't get discarded. But here, if everything goes to plan, I have 5 points and he's cooked. But he realizes the possibility existed, so I think he played another card as a result, which gives me the setup to play Heron here. I don't think that playing any card is good. Sorry, I don't think playing more points is good because, like, if I play a face down card, he knows it's not Heron, so he knows it's points. And whatever he's played has probably given him a lot of points. So while I do want Heron to be as late as possible, me playing another card here probably just means he passes. Wait. Okay, so I know I'm gonna draw back to the same 5 cards next round. I'm letting him get a bunch of nourish. No, I actually just won over him. So I knew he had paramountcy, but he didn't play it. Why did I know he wasn't going to play paramountcy? Was that just a read? Huh. Like if he figures out that my second card might be Hero, which discards his Oak, he plays a paramountcy, he gets a bunch of nourish, like he's necessarily winning that round. And then he doesn't have Cling, so he can't do it again. He's not getting extra Inspire, but he just has Nourish, so he's winning like up to 4, and then he just needs one more. Yeah, I forget if I was just reading this. I guess he knew that I won there.